Alright, hello, this is, What If Female Deku Was a Xenomorph Part 2. Now, we're gonna pick up where we last left off. Okay, I'm gonna actually explain, sorry about that. So, before we start, I'm gonna explain, because, one person was asking, does she have claws, or will she get blades like the Predator? Yes, she does have the claws, but she does have the claws, but they are not as sharp as they are as sharp as the xenomorphs, but they don't do that much damage. So hold on. All right, now we'll pick up where we last left off with. We'll pick up about a couple years later when Izumi is about to graduate from middle school, as her teacher throws the pieces of paper up in the air saying, "Oh, I know what you all want to do. You all want to be heroes." Now, since she's been at the school for a while, she has gotten a couple more friends in her class, so she's friends with the girl who can produce fire with her hands. Sorry about that. Basically, anyway, she's friends with everybody who isn't Bakugo's goons. As the teacher would state that we have two people who are going to UA. If Bakugo would blurt out, who the hell else would go to UA? This classroom is filled with nobody but D-listers. As the teacher would then state that Izumi Aizawa would be going to UA with Bakugo just freezing as he looks over at Izumi. As he was about to burst out laughing, actually no, he was going to walk up to her desk. As he was about to explode it, she wrapped her tail around his arm, and then had the blade at his neck again, stating, "Don't you remember our little agreement, Bakugo?" As he remembered what she said about not making him not be able to walk again, as he would back down. As she was getting ready to leave, now all of her friends were gone, two of Bakugo's goons tried to bully her. That ended horribly. One of them was sent out the window, the other was sent out the door of the classroom. Now, the one that was sent out the window did survive, don't worry, he's not dead. As she would be walking to get home. The sludge villain incident won't happen, since she's taking a different path. As she would then begin training for 10 months with Aizawa and Midnight, as she's increasing her resistance to things like Midnight's gas and fighting without relying on her other appendages too much. As around the 5-month mark, while she was on a break, she was walking around the city, as she would encounter a girl with blonde hair, cat-like yellow eyes, and fangs. As she found her in an alleyway, about to be mugged by a criminal, as Izumi would walk in, saying, "Don't you think it's a bit cruel to try and rob a teenage girl of her money?" As the crook would say, "What are you gonna do about it, girl?" As a sinister grin would spread across her face. Now, just to hide her xenomorph type things, she wears like very long jackets and very baggy clothing. So sometimes she'll get mistaken as a guy. Sometimes, but if you look close enough, you'll realize that it's a girl. Her bladed tail would come out, she would slash the guy's palm for him to drop his weapon, and basically claw at his knees to get him onto the ground, and chop him in the back of the neck to knock him out. As the girl would thank her, and as Izumi would ask for her name, as she would say that her name is Himiko Toga, and what's her name? As she would respond with, my name is Izumi Aizawa. As Toga would thank her, and she'd ask her, what are you planning to do for? I heard that UA is opening up its new entrance exam, so I'm guessing you're going to be participating in it. As Izumi would respond with, yes, I'm actually training for it. As Toga says, that's so cool, I've actually been planning on taking the entrance exam to go to UA. As she would begin training her court, as both her and Izumi would be training alongside each other sometimes, until we then get to the entrance exams. Now, Izumi will be getting in via recommendations from midnight. As she would take the recommendation course, as she would pass the written portion of it, she would score higher than Momo's score, and she would also outperform Todoroki in the physical exam, as she would wait those 2 weeks and get her letter saying that she passed and she got into class 1A. As she would immediately call Toga and say that she got in, as Toga would also say that she got in, but she got into class 1B. With both of them being incredibly happy that they'll be able to see each other at UA, they then begin training until UA begins. Where I'd say about 17 days before before UA begins, Izumi is sort of like moving a lot slower. She's shedding her exoskeleton. Her exoskeleton is shedding a lot more. As she would go into her room and not come out for a couple of hours. As Toga would begin to worry, since she hasn't heard from... We'll cut forward to about 5 days. Toga's getting worried because she hasn't heard from her, so she'd go over to Izumi's place and ask if Izumi's alright. As Aizawa and Midnight would let her in. As Toga would head to Izumi's room, she'd see that Izumi is in sort of like a massive cocoon type thing. You know the one that was in at the end of the Xenomorph campaign in Alien vs. Predator for the PlayStation and Xbox? Yeah, that one. She's in that. As Toga would notice that she's changing quite a bit with these shoulder parts growing out, and her hair turning sort of like from a blackish to a purplish color. As you notice that her tail would be a lot sharper. As it would then get to about day 15, as Izumi would come out from the cocoon, falling to the ground, as they hear a thump, as Aizawa and Midnight would hear a thump coming from Izumi's room. As they'd go up there, seeing if something was wrong, as they would find Izumi like this. As they would be surprised to find that Izumi has changed so much. So, now, I forgot to mention this, because I am an idiot in the last part. Izumi was about the same height as the Xenomorph warrior. Now she is about the same she is about half the height of the Xenomorph queen, which I believe are, hold on, give me a minute. Alright, so she is about half the height of a queen Xenomorph, so she's about, no, she's not half, she's about, 10 feet. She's 10 feet tall now. She's basically towering over Midnight and Aizawa now. So Midnight and Aizawa are happy that Izumi's alright, but Izumi's still trying to get used to her new height and new body armor, due to it being a lot thicker and her having this new head crest. With her contacting Toga, as Toga would come over and see Izumi's change quite a bit, with Toga being incredibly happy that her friends are alright and thinks that her friend looks so cool like this. As for the next 2 days, Izumi would get used to her new body and new body armor, as she would head to UA. With Toga just following behind her, as Toga would be next to her. As now the ships haven't started yet, since why not? I will wait till part 3 to do the ships. So Toga and her are walking to UA as they begin to have a conversation. Of what happened for the last couple of days, and what Izumi was doing while she's in that cocoon. As Izumi would state that she doesn't know what was happening. It's sort of like a dream type state. It was sort of like she was asleep dreaming, but she wasn't. So she was sort of stuck between consciousness and being unconscious and conscious. As Toga would find that very interesting and begin to write notes down about that, since she finds her friend's new transformation quite interesting. She's been writing down notes on it, and Izumi has also been writing down notes about her capabilities before and after. As they would get to their classes, with Toga getting to class 1B, as she would state that this is her stop and that she'll see her later. As Izumi would arrive at class 1A, as she would open the door to find that her dad is sleeping under the desk, and there are a bunch of people talking, and everybody then looks at her weirdly, as Ida would walk up to her and state that you're probably in the wrong class, we're waiting on somebody who, as he does have a picture of her, as he shows her an image of a girl who looked like this, as she would then state, oh, that's, what are you talking about, I'm right here. As Ida would then take a closer look and realize that it is her, as he would apologize about that, as he didn't know that that she would be looking so different. As she said that it's fine. With Izumi walking to her desk, as she then sits down. With oh wait, hold on, did I Oh yeah, I think I did cover. Yeah, I did cover. I think I didn't cover the entrance exam. She got first place. I'm sorry that I didn't cover it. I forgot. It completely slipped past my mind. But she basically dealt with the 0 pointers by taking them out one by one stealthily. She got first place, and she had also saved her Uraka. This was before her metamorphosis, so back when she looked like this and not this. I'm sorry that I didn't cover that. Forgive me. As Uraka would walk up to her and say, "Hey, that's the girl who rescued me. Thank you for that." As Izumi would state that it was nothing. As Izumi would see Bakugo in the corner, as Bakugo would look at her and look away and think, "Damn it, how did she get so powerful? Why she look so much stronger than she did before?" As she would head to her desk, sit down, as Aizawa would then rise up, stating, "That took you all 15 minutes to shut. That took you all 10 seconds to shut up. This is not good for a hero school." Blah 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 blah. Put these gym uniforms on and meet me out on the field. As Izumi would immediately get up and grab the uniform, as she would walk down to the changing room. As the changing, Aizawa asked Nezu if the changing rooms could be accommodated due to his daughter's new found size of about 10 feet. As Cementos would have rearranged the changing rooms to accommodate her size. She would walk in, and as she was getting changed into the gym uniform, she noticed that there was a little peeping hole which she had covered with this part of her tail. As when Mineta tried to peek through, he couldn't see anything due to the hole being covered, and Izumi kept that hole covered until everybody else was ready, and they left. With her getting out to the field, as Aizawa then tossed her the ball, saying that you got. Oh wait, no way! I did cover the entrance exam with the recommendations. I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. You got, as he says, you got first place on the recommendation exam. Now throw the ball. Again, I'm very sorry. My brain just does not want to function today. As she would throw the ball and get about 17,000 meters, with Bakugo getting enraged and beginning to charge at her, as he would be screaming, "How the hell did you get so strong? I can't think of an insult right now, so if you have, just think of any random insult, okay?" As I was about to get him in his capture scarf, as Izumi would basically raise up her hand as she basically backhands Bakugo into the gymnasium building. Like, not through the wall, but into the wall. As Bakugo would basically be dazed for a couple minutes, with everybody else getting their turn, and Bakugo getting his, with everything else going as it did, with Izumi getting first, except for the side-to-side jump, where Mineta gets first, because Izumi may be powerful, but she's not that fast. As the score would come in, as Mineta would be in last, as he would be kicked out of Class 1A. As we'd then continue until we get to the end of the day, actually the cafeteria, where Toga sees Izumi, as she would immediately go up to sit next to her, as the two friends would have a conversation with Todoroki and Bakugo, with Bakugo seeing this, thinking that this bee has gone more friends than another friend, and that he only has he's getting pretty jealous envious that she's gone more popular than him. With Bakugo basically being frustrated for the rest of the day, as we would then get to the next day with Izumi with class going as normal until they hear footsteps coming down the hall, as All Might would bust through the door, saying I'm here, coming through the door like a normal person, with everybody else cheering except for Izumi, because she's seen All Might dozens of times before, with him saying that nobody's a true hero without their costumes, as he would then press the button and their costumes would come out, with everybody getting into their costumes and Izumi walking out like this, as they would state that is actually a pretty impressive hero costume, as she would then state that this isn't her hero costume, this is literally fused to her body, as Toru would then state, so your hero costume is sort of like mine, because mine is literally just a pair of boots and gloves and nothing else. As Izumi would then say, yes, sort of something like that. Now, okay, I'm going to say this right now. She can sort of shift back to the Xenomorph warrior and the queen. Just that when she was incubating during that, it was for her to reach full maturity to her adult state, to her queen stage. So she can change between the two. So don't worry if those of you thought that turned her into a queen too early. Don't worry, she can shift back. So she would shift back to her warrior Xenomorph stage, as she would then get paired up with she'll get paired up with Uraraka, as they would get into the building with Izumi saying that Bakugo would probably come after her first, so they'll need to be quiet. So you go take out the bomb, and I'll deal with Bakugo. As she would then leap onto the ceiling and begin to crawl along it, with Uraraka agreeing to this plan, as she would then run to go and deal with the bomb. As Izumi was beginning to crawl, Bakugo would come around the corner and try to explode where he thought she was, but she wasn't there, with Izumi then slowly hanging down from the ceiling, with her tail hanging down from the ceiling as it's pointed right at Bakugo, as she would then drop down quietly and sneak up on Bakugo and put him in a chokehold, with Bakugo struggling to get out of it, as he would then use his quirk, as Izumi would quickly shift into her queen stage, as she would be blasted off, but since her carapace, her exoskeleton armor is a lot stronger in her queen stage than in her warrior stage, she manages to block all the damage from it, but she doesn't stop the force from the explosion. which is what I find very curious about some artists, where Izuku has like defensive type skill abilities or quirks, where he blocks all the damage and apparently the force from the explosion as well, which is why I'm mainly using like the force of the explosion. It does affect her, because it doesn't matter if you block all the damage, the force from the attack will still send you flying, depending on how strong the force from the attack was. Anyway, enough of that physics tangent. Let's continue. As she would then stand back up, as Bakugo's arm gauntlets would be ready, as he would then pull the pin on it, as a massive explosion would be sent Izumi's way, which luckily she dodged out of the way of, with Bakugo thinking that he beat her, with Izumi quickly shifting back to her warrior stage, as she would then sneak up on Bakugo, as she would use the second jaw that in her mouth to knock Bakugo out by hitting him in the back of the head. Not enough to like break through his skull, but enough to cause a concussion, as Bakugo would fall out, would be knocked out, as Izumi would then head up to where Ida was, as she would shift back into her queen stage, as she would charge through the door, as she would grab Ida and pin him up against the wall, with Uraraka touching the bomb, as the hero team would win. And that's where I'm going to leave it off. I do hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time with part 3 to Poison Ivy.